So I just recently had an interview with a really nice company that I wanted to work for, right? I really wanted to work for this company. It starts with a letter and then mobile, right? So the entire time, what makes you want to work here? All these conflict resolution questions like, tell me about a time where there was a problem at work and how did it get solved about a conflict when you were in conflict with this person or when you had a conflict with your manager. Was there a conflict with a customer ever? The fuck, I am not like a conflicting type of person where I just have a fucking attitude. I'm like naturally nice, right? So at this point I feel like I'm backed into a corner coming up with stories that are lies in my head as far as conflictions, right? Like, what the like, I don't go to work looking for problems. If I ever did have like whatever job it was, I don't have problems with people. How do I tell these people? And I said that straight up. I said, well, I pretty much get along with everybody. And, if there was ever a problem, there was never a conflict. It just got resolved. I didn't even want to work there anymore after that. Like, are you serious? Like, there's a problem. It can always be solved. Like, let's be so for real. Like, I don't understand these jobs. And are we really hiring, or are we just like, did we just shoot the shit for 2 hours? It was a 2 hour interview about conflict resolution. And on top of that, Blank Mobile, I don't even think they're going to hire me because I haven't heard back from them. It's been about a week and a half. And apparently I owe them. So now I'm getting like credit collections in my email and people calling me. So there's that. What in the entire
I honestly don't. I honestly don't even know what to say. I'm at a loss for words here. Is she serious? Yo, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna share my thoughts. But in the meantime, we'd love for you to get in the comments. Let me know your take on everything that you just heard this young lady share. Remember, over here, we like to keep it positive. We are thrivers. So when you get in the comment section, please don't crash out on her. Let's keep it respectful. Give her some advice. And yeah, let's get into this. Man, oh man, what in the world is she complaining about? Like, this is absolutely nothing new. This is nothing new. So, if somebody similar to this young lady goes to a job interview and they are not expecting to get questions about conflict resolution, how you handle issues with coworkers and your boss and challenges like that, I mean, that stuff is standard. Since when is this stuff something that is just completely new that nobody's ever heard of? Like, it's absolutely standard. And to me, it boils down to either a person has had no training to prepare for job interviews, or your expectations for what the interview should be like just doesn't match reality. And I think that's probably what it is. I don't think that as a grown adult, you don't know that you get asked these type of questions, especially working in my assumption would be a front facing job if she's talking about working for, T-Mobile, right? Because I mean, that's who it is, man. She ain't say the name, but we all know that's exactly who she was saying. I don't know why she would even try to act like she's trying to keep the name under wraps and make it so obvious who you're talking about, right? And I don't think T-Mobile did anything wrong during this interview. They held the interview like every other employer that I've ever known. You get asked that question about conflict resolution. And this is what I don't know if she and some people recognize, but interviews are specifically designed to find the gaps. They're to test you. Like, I don't know why people think interviews should be easy. They're not meant to be easy. They are meant to make you stumble, make you trip up, make you reveal something about yourself. It's a part of the interview. It's not manipulative. It's so that they can be able to see a little bit about you from different perspectives. And I don't think that there's absolutely anything wrong with it. If anything, it helps you to identify the gaps. If you similar to her, it would seems like you just don't know how to answer that question. I think that's what it really boils down to is you didn't prepare enough, because how would you not know that you're going to be asked about conflict resolution? And to say, oh, well, I'm not a conflictive person, I don't do, I mean, when we look at this, I mean, come on, like you're online complaining. That is a form of conflict, or do you not realize that? Like you have a conflicting view of how the interview should have gone. That is conflict, and now the question is, how do you deal with it? Now we see. You see, like when you put on the thinking cap, you can identify that conflict happens to every person. There's no person on this earth that hasn't encountered some type of conflict. Now, there's a difference between initiating and creating conflict versus being a part of it. Like we all face conflicts on a day to day for some people, or at least on a regular basis, whether that is every month, you may face some type of conflict. If you are interacting with other people, you're likely to have some type of conflict, even in your own home. Like, who is living with somebody else and you haven't had some form of conflict? It doesn't mean that you come to blows or you're insulting one another, but there's conflicts all of the time. Like it just happens. It could be over the tiniest thing, but it would be classified as a conflict. And if you go to a job interview and you try to make it seem like you don't know anything about conflict, you've never encountered one, unfortunately, you are already answering the question in a way that is giving them some very valuable information, which is that you do not know how to properly interpret or identify a conflict. And if that's the case, more than likely, you do not have the skill set to be able to resolve one. And I can speak from my own experience. Like back in the day, I was and had the opportunity to interview with and work for a mobile service provider. And this is what I'll say. Some people are afraid to be honest in interviews because, I get it. Sometimes you go to job interviews and you like really, really, really need the job. And I don't know. Maybe I've just been blessed to just be one of those type of people where, like I've never been overly concerned when I'm going into a job interview. And granted, I'm not talking about today's day and age, right? I admit and I see that it is completely different landscape. I haven't gone into a job interview in many years. Like that's just one of the pros of me working for myself. But I understand what people are going through. And let me get to my point, right? The point that I was making without doing all of that explaining and trying to, cushion the blow for people that may get in the comments like warriors is the simple fact that when I went to those interviews, I was asked specifically at a mobile service provider, how would I sell somebody something? If they came in for a phone, how would I sell them a case or a screen protector or something like that? And I was put in a position to have to do that right there on the spot. And even though I had come from a sales position, I realized that I didn't have the skill set to know how to properly upsell people in that environment to the level that that company that I was interviewing with at the time would have wanted me to. And it was something that was revealing. And instead of acting like and pretending or getting upset that I didn't know how to do it, I just asked the woman, hey, like it was clear that I didn't do a good job. So I asked the woman that was interviewing me, I was like, like, how can I improve on this? Like what can I do? How would you recommend? And she literally went back through that scenario and she was like, you act like the customer, I'll be, the sales associate. And I learned something from that moment. And even if I didn't get that job, I would have walked away with that skill just in that moment of being vulnerable enough to say, hey, you know what? I attempted it. I was willing to first attempt it. I may not have, done as well as expected, but I also didn't just accept that. I asked her to help me. And from that moment on, I think it really changed and shifted for me that interview because she was really nice. She saw that I really wanted to learn and I actually did get the job. And I can't say I've ever had this happen on any other job is once I got the job, like she took me out for lunch. It was awesome. So sometimes you just got to be open to just say, hey, I don't know. And that would have been an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Like, I don't personally feel like I'm a person that encounters conflict a lot. Can you give me a scenario or an example? And just be more open to be honest with people. And that's really the main thing that I wanted to say about that. And one other thing, she talked about how bad she wanted this job. And just when the interview didn't go her way, she says, oh, you know what? Forget it. I don't care about the job. But I think this boils down to how we respond when things don't go our way. And I believe that when, in this case, it's a job interview and a gap is identified where somebody asks you a question and you weren't prepared to answer it, or you didn't like the way they answered or ask you the question, or you didn't like the question or whatever, right? That's a gap. And we, as mature adults, we have two options, right? The first is, in order to fix this gap, we can develop the skills that we need to be able to meet the expectation of our employer, meaning we close the gap by developing ourselves and our skills and rising to the expectation that that employer has. The second option, which unfortunately it sounds like she may have opted to take, is you shrink your goals. You then go from wanting to work at a company to saying, I don't want to work for them now, all because you're unwilling to close the gap by rising to the occasion, by developing the skill sets needed to meet their expectation. That's not where we want to be. I don't advocate for anybody to put themselves in that position. Don't ever shrink your goals because you're unwilling to grow as a person and develop the necessary skills that you need to continue to advance and excel and get to the place that you desire to be in life. That's my take. Please feel free to share yours in the comments if you haven't already. Remember to keep it respectful. We are thrivers over here. This is another episode of the Daily Alarm. I'll be back with another one. Until then, I'm Jay. Stay blessed.